welcome to another edition of the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show, where this week we continue our journey into kind of exploring some of the things you must do when you get your first head coaching job. We're going to talk to another tremendously successful strength coach now at Arizona College Prep, Mr. Jared Stone. We're excited to talk to him. We've talked to a number of different guys in the strength conditioning world, and we're really excited to get his insight on this critical subject for all sports, but definitely for football programs out there. And we hope you enjoy listening. And if you are enjoying listening, please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Our only goal on the show is to reach as many coaches as we possibly can and give them a free resource. So we can do that by getting more subscriptions. So please like and subscribe, share the video, all that type of good stuff. And while you're doing that, also remember that the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show is brought to you by School Funder. School Funder, the only online fundraising company in America that lets you keep all of the money your team raises. You wouldn't give away 20% of the wins your team earns, so why are you willingly giving away 20% of the proceeds they bring in fundraising? Contact School Funder at schoolfundr.org and let them know the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show sent you, as it'll help the show. So, we're going to get right into the topic at hand. I know, Coach, I believe you are a former Badger, so that was part of the excitement of having you on the show, and obviously been very successful in the strength conditioning world. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your coaching story, or we usually ask about your football story, but just in general, your kind of journey in athletics.
Well, I'm a class of 99 Prescott graduate, so yeah, you're right about that. And after high school, went and actually ran track at Glendale Community College for a year, and then played at Arizona Western College, where when they used to have football, and went to NAU and played some rugby there actually. And I actually was a history teacher for most of my career, and I taught history. I began my coaching career in 2005 at Mingus Union High School, so about an hour away from you guys, and was there until 2011 when I went to Mountain View High School in Mesa, and just left there last year. So this is my first year at ACP as their strength and conditioning coordinator. That's all I do all day. I'm in the weight room with teams, or they call the lockers or academies. I have anywhere from 5 to about 2 teams, depending on the class period each day. Work with head coaches directly, sometimes assistants. Chandler is kind of a unique beast how they do their stuff there, but it's been great so far, and I really enjoyed this year. Like I said, my first year doing this. I was doing strength conditioning at Mountain View since 2021 or 22, and started with just football, strength conditioning, moved into just about all sports, and then did stuff after school as well. So 21 years of coaching football, coaching track, 1 year of coaching junior high wrestling, which was interesting, and then and being pretty much in strength and conditioning. I kind of dabbled in it when I was at Mingus, helping Bob Young out 1 hour a day when he had his prep, and then actually coached his probably successor, Robert Ortiz, who's the OC over at Bradshaw right now, and it's kind of crazy to see those guys at Bradshaw now. But so it's been a fun ride. Made a lot of cool people, and the connections are very great. This is an awesome state to coach and train athletes. Now I'm just in kind of a background role. I was DC at Mountain View last year when we made a run to the state championship game. Unfortunately, we came up short to Centennial, but got to win a state championship in track in 2023, and I have nothing but good things to say about Mountain View. They were great to me for about 15 years. It was just time for an opportunity I couldn't pass up.
Understandable. I know the Chandler District is the envy of most in Arizona, kind of the way they do things athletically, and you will also be happy to know that Coach Benetone was our freshman head coach this year. Actually, we lured him out of retirement. So if you graduated in 99, I would imagine your first 2 years on varsity were his, or your last 2 years on varsity were his first 2 as the head coach, I believe, if I'm not mistaken there. So cool stuff there. So we're going to get right
Yep.
into the topic here, and we're going to talk about some strength conditioning stuff. I have a lot of questions to ask you, a lot of different things. We want to utilize your expertise, but what do you think coaches, and specifically football coaches, maybe get wrong in strength conditioning programs?
One word, it's volume. We do too much volume. There's there's a this sacred cow that it's got to be 5 sets of 10 reps. It's got to be 10 reps, 10 reps in the off season, and then drop it down in season or don't lift at all in season. I guess probably the worst thing would be if they stop lifting in season. If you ask any of my kids, we're hammering it still. I mean, we won't go past 5 reps on stuff for the most part. We're hitting heavies. The only thing I kind of take out of my program in season is back squatting, but we still front squat. We power clean. We trap bar deadlift, bench press. Can't leave out the bench press. I mean, um, so I would say if you have to ask me one word, it's volume, and also ignoring in-season lifting. You have to lift in season. If you're not, the other guy is. You have to, and that's the biggest thing I've had to try to change the culture. No, sorry, I don't. But
I
that's
was going to say,
and
I
it's
was
not
talking
necessarily. It's
about your
just
Mountain View
the
program.
way.
I know.
Yeah, and Coach Pagano, who's over there and still over there now, and he's coaching golf, but he still runs the weight program over there. It's somebody that I leaned on quite a bit, taking the job. He was very gracious with me. He still helps me out. I still pick his brain every now and then. You can't leave out a guy that's had, you know, 22, 23 years, 25 years, and just almost purely strength and conditioning, maybe 20 of those 25 years in strength conditioning. So he's a guy that you gotta lean out. Like I always say, like it's awesome being able to do these talks and stuff like that. But if it weren't for the guys ahead of me or guys that I mentors, whatever you would call them, um, then I'm just shooting the breeze. So I've taken from just about everybody. It could be Coach Litton. We only worked together really 1 year at Mountain View, but I was able to steal some stuff from him. Coach Tabor, who was Desert Mountains head coach for years, he's over at Mountain View still. He was my throws coach. I took stuff for him. Pagano, I mean, that's what's awesome is like steal. I tell young coaches, find stuff you like, leave stuff you don't. Write it down and use it and give credit. I mean, like I'm doing now, try to give credit to those guys. I mean, Coach Benetone, I still remember him doing these Superman push-ups when I was in high school. I mean, the dude was unreal. I think he was in Muscle Beach or something years ago in the 70s, and hopefully he's not wearing those bike shorts anymore. But anyway, like he was a somebody that really pushed us. I still remember not being in the weight room as a sophomore, and him grabbed me by my collar, walking me down, and said, "This is the weight room. If you'd like to play on Friday nights, you will have to be in here a lot."
Believe it or not, Coach Pagano was my one of my high school coaches at Dobson in 1997. So a lot of respect for him too. So, Coach, I saw, this is kind of off topic, off my things, but I saw you posted the other day, and I got to ask this just from somebody that's in the weight room and a teaching perspective. You had it was like 3 or 4 teams in there in the morning. How do you organize your weight room when you have, I don't, it was wild. You had, I think you said freshman football, and it was 3 or 4 teams at least. So how do you go about making that functional with that amount of kids?
Yeah, well, first of all, safety's got to be number one. So the first part, we do a week of safety training in the weight room. I call it the anatomy of a squat rack, where you take like this is what a rack is, because everybody's vocab is different. You're an offensive guy, right? So you call a sweep maybe something different, or I call jet or rocket mo something different. So I mean, I call J hooks, or safety arms, or so when I'm saying, hey, adjust your safety arms, they know what I'm talking about. They're not just looking at me with their eyes crossed. So we have to get on our vocab right away. We do everything in circuits. And I mean, I hear all these things. Well, you got to let them rest 2 minutes, and you got to let them rest 3 minutes. I got to get kids through, and I get in 3 to 4 kids per rack. We have 20 racks, thankfully. We have a pretty good sized room, so we got 20 racks, 4 kids a rack. It's 80 kids I can get in there just in the racks. Then I've got kind of a front area where my plyo boxes are at. And so I had, what was going on is I had the volleyball girls doing a game day circuit, all of them young through, freshmen through seniors. I had my freshmen and my softball players on the racks, 4 to a rack. If we're doing a bench, there you have a built-in spotter. So I have, say, we'll always use bench as an example, but say you got bench press as your main movement. I do a whole body split. This is probably answering some other questions you have, so apologize if it kind of runs on. But goblet squat big is the next one. And then I do some kind of core or iso movement, something to address maybe injury prevention as a third movement. And then fourth is my spotter or rester. Okay, in season, we'll have a rest area. Off season, if I have the room, we won't have a rest. Okay, or we'll add in a fourth movement. So they're called trisets. If you ever look up on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it now, there's a guy named Pat Basil, and I love his stuff because it's really no nonsense stuff. It's great for small town coaches or guys that have to run a weight room. And he breaks it down real simply. He says trisets are the way to go. I tried it at Mountain View when I kind of ran the football program, strength conditioning under Coach Germain. It was amazing. It was great. Had guys working. We weren't overworking. We were adjusting injuries. We were hitting major lifts. We were also hitting whole body. So say a kid misses my lower body emphasis day, so that would be like a Monday after or any time after a break. So we're hitting power cleans, maybe followed by a front squat. They missed that day. Oh, well, they missed their lower body. I guess they're not going to hit it for 4 days in a row if you don't, depending on how your schedule goes. No, we're going to hit it on our bench day. We're going to hit goblet squats. We're going to some RDLs. Right now, we only have 1 barbell per rack. So if the barbell is getting used, you got to use some dumbbells. You got to use iso movements. You got to use, bands. You use what you have, and so you have to kind of build around that. So I have what I have. I build around that. I also have a hallway, and a pretty nice hallway. So I get some kettlebells out in the hallway with some mats, and my golfers are out there doing core work. They were doing stability training. They were doing waiters, carries, and farmers walks out in the hallway. I kind of set all the coaches down at the beginning of the year. I said, we're going to have a rotation. You won't always be on a rack. If you're in season, you have priority, but if you're off season or, or you're someone that isn't in the weight room every day, like maybe our golfers, because in season they use their first hour locker time as a time to go practice. They practice in the morning because in the afternoon, there's no room on the links to go practice. So we had, I don't want to get in trouble with the fire marshal, but we had about, I want to say 120 kids all working. I mean, and they were working. Now the effort they give, that's on them. At some point, they're going to do what they're going to do. But for the most part, I've been extremely impressed with ACP's kids. They've been real receptive to what I'm doing. But I'll get into some other legalese terms later, like SAID principle and stuff like that about adaptation. And they're adapting. And the group I'm really pleased with right now is my freshman football group. They're the group that I thought was going to put me in an early grave 2 weeks into the semester. But Coach Z and I are on the same page, and that's another thing we'll talk about too, is get with your sport coach and give them some say in your programming. But yeah, that's how we fit all those guys in. It's not like that every hour. First hour is kind of a unique beast where we have 5 different teams. Really, we have two volleyball squads, the whole softball squad, the whole freshman football squad, and golfers pretty much in there at the same time. And yeah, they're not all in there at the same time. Some are out on the diamond, but we got a rotation going. But every once in a while, the perfect storm hits, and you're going to have all of them in there. And that's when our strength coach is going to earn his pay. What do you tell the coaches? You can't be in there, go shoot hoops. We can do something. Good old-fashioned wall sits help too.
I love the organization. Definitely some stuff we've tried to utilize. I've never had that many teams and that big a group in there. I don't think we only have 12 racks, so our weight room couldn't really handle quite that many. But that was a master class on there on how to organize things and how to go about that. But next question, Coach, how do you measure growth? And does that change from sport to sport?
Yeah, like what I'm trying to get right now is we don't have any technology. And again, I don't want to, when I say this stuff, like what ACP doesn't have, I'm not trying to talk down to Coach Vaught, who was there before me, Coach Ortiz, who was helping him out, who's now over at Bradshaw. it's just not in their culture. You got a guy with a stopwatch time in 40. So the big push I have right now is we got to get some technology in there. I finally got some funds to get a vertical tester that's a laser, because I don't want these kids saying, well, I jumped 32 when, yeah, they jump up on a box 32 inches. That's not the same thing. I'm working on getting us some laser timers, either through OVR, Dasher, and that's the big thing that we can measure. Are we going to do maxes in December? Yeah, we're going to do maxes because it's fun. I mean, I think of it as kind of like a payday. Think of it as like your football team when you have a bye week. They might be a little sluggish those Monday, Tuesday because, well, we don't have a game this week, coach, so why do we care? If there's not some kind of goal, I got to give them a little carrot. I've had basketball guys all up on me going, when are we going to get to bench press max? When are we going to, and these are basketball guys, but you still get, and so I think you got to give them a little bit of something. We'll bring in a bell, hit the bell, get around, cheer them, pat them on the back if they don't get it. If they do get it, we shout it out. We're going to create a top 10 list. We got some bulletin board stuff in the hallways. So we're going to put that, top 10, what does it take to get into the top 10 ACP strength? Each sport's going to have their own measurables. Some coaches want to do maxes, some don't. And again, you got to meet the sport coach and where they're comfortable at. If they're not comfortable with maxing yet, you don't do it. Then you say, okay, we're going to hit flying tens and vertical test. And that's it. And we can measure measurables off of that. But there's many different ways to do it. Right now I'm new. I wasn't there in the summer for most of it, so we didn't do any kind of max testing with football. I'll go back to football. But they're already, they're still in the playoff hunt, but you got seniors asking me, hey, can I still max with you? Can I still max in December? Because I want to see where I'm at. I think, what we're doing is good. And I said, yeah, absolutely. You're part of the program still until you graduate. And then you're always welcome to come back and say hi. So, those are measurables that are easy to do, but I also look at and see, especially with my freshmen, can we hit depth in a squat? Because they weren't able to do that early. Okay, can they do a push-up? Sometimes it's just eyeballing it. Sometimes you ask your sport coach, how are they doing on the diamond, on the field, on the court, on the mat? I've had huge feedback from my wrestling coach. Said this is awesome. And part of that is they don't have to come up with the workouts. They lean on me for that, and that's exactly what I'm there for. I'm there to make their lives easier. So, but anyway, getting back to your thing about the measurables, that's, I'm not going to put a kid up with a shirt off in front of a bulletin board, take pictures of them like they do in college, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but we are going to measure the measurements we can, and some people that will be we'll max the clean, the bench, the squat. We'll hit a 40, we'll do a vertical test, a flying 10, and some people it'll just be the 40, the 10, and or whatever they want. The baseball guys want to do their 60s, that's their 40-yard test, right? Big 40 test is the 60. And so we'll meet the coach where they're at. I always try to, that's the big one. Make those sport coaches, any strength conditioning coaches out there that are listening, the sport coaches, that's their job. That's them. I don't want my name in the paper. I want their name in the paper winning, and if they say anything, it's because, hey, Coach Stone helped our kids get, prepared. And that's the big new thing in colleges now is director of preparedness. They're getting away from the whole strength and conditioning thing. So, and that's what we want. We want kids prepared for the tests.
Coach, I love that. That's all really valuable information, and definitely love hearing about how ACP and the Chandler District in general does things, because, like I said, they're kind of what everybody is aspiring to in terms of athletics, and not just in football, but obviously most of this is geared towards football coaches. So walk me through a typical in-season plan. This obviously could be an entire podcast all of its own, but so you don't have to get super in depth, but walk me through a typical in-season plan in terms of how many days, what days you're doing, and we're going to talk about specifically for a varsity football team, and then maybe an out-of-season type plan.
Yeah, so in season right now, what I've been working with the guys on so far is a Monday is our big lift day, like I kind of said before. Everything starts with, I don't do a ton of sprint stuff in season right now because they're getting that in practice. So I'm trying to, give them back their legs for that. Again, I go to coaches, I go, what's your conditioning plan at practice? Or do you condition at practice? And then we go from there. But power cleaning is the big one. While they're power cleaning, they're probably doing some other probably upper body movement lift. They could be doing dumbbell bench press, um, something along those lines. Then some kind of injury prevention. Again, I go back to my trisets. I'm always in the trisets. So there's three movements going on all at the same time. While somebody's power cleaning, somebody's doing something with the bench. So think again what your equipment you have. You have multiple barbells. What's awesome about that at Mountain View, we had multiple barbells. We had enough barbells for everybody to have one to power clean with, but we also had one in the squat rack. So you could actually do your bench and your clean all in the same day, really, because you got two different body lifts going on. So really, all the kids say, well, it's our lower body day, and I go, well, yeah, lower body emphasis, but it's a full split each day. And then we get a 2-minute rest after about, in season, we're 3 sets. And right now I'm using what's called the RPE system or RIR system, where it's reps in reserve or rate of perceived exertion, depending on who you want to talk to about it. And it's tough for high school kids because I don't have a max. And so I get, but percentages is not necessarily the best way to go because day in, day out, your 80% will change. If you didn't get much sleep last night, you got 3 hours sleep, you're studying for a test, your girlfriend broke up with you, whatever it might be, your 80% is going to feel like 120%. So maybe you're not able to do that. And so then we're going back down to 60% of your max just to get those 3 reps maybe. But yeah, I go back to what I said before. I'm not going over 5 reps on most of my stuff in season. Think of in season as a time to hit some heavier lifts, give them more rest time in the workout. So again, we usually have 4 guys per rack. So one guy's spotting or one guy's just resting, okay? And they know they don't get a ton of rest in my workout, so they're using it. Because all I got, if it's a typical day, typical Monday at ACP, is I think we have a 55-minute class period, maybe 57. Okay, so they got 10 minutes to dress out, try to say 8 minutes. 8 minutes to dress out, 8 minutes to dress out. Okay, and so they are in there. We do a 3.5 to 4 minute warm up. Okay, it's full body warm up. If we're doing Olympic lifts, preseason, I have three blocks. I go preseason, in season, off season. So preseason, we'll do what's called a barbell warm up, which I stole from Coach Pagano. Okay, and so we're working on empty barbell lifts or even PVC, depending on how much regression we need in our Olympic lifting. And so we're working our 4 position power clean. Okay, so hang above or high hang, mid thigh, hang above, hang below. Okay, then we'll hit our hang and catch, okay, with light barbell or no weight on the barbell, or PVC again, depending on injuries. Okay, that might take a little bit longer, so then I might have to adjust the time. Then we get into our first tricep. We move through, and I'll make that just tricep. If we have a bye week or maybe not a Friday game, or if I think we can push the volume a little bit, we'll do 4, make it a quad set on our second set. So we'll have 4 movements going on with no rest. Okay, maybe another band movement, isolate. Some kids want to hit those tris and bis. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of direct tricep bicep work at the end there. So again, kind of think of like your main movement on both your trisets, or if you're breaking into 2 trisets like I am, what's your main movement you want to attack? What's the supplementary movement that also won't make you tired, right? So if I'm doing power cleans, if I have 2 barbells, I won't do a squat at the same time, right? Because they're doing that, they're catching the squat, they're catching the clean and squatting it up. Okay, we might do squat in the second tricep, which is what I do in season. We'll do a front squat. Okay, front squat will be in our second tricep after they get a 2-minute to 3-minute break, 2.5-minute break. Okay, then they're into their front squats. An upper body movement to probably attack the back a little bit more because we do ignore the back quite a bit. Everybody wants to see the front. Everybody wants the beach muscles. Okay, a lot of back. We've been hitting lots of back lately to try to correct a lot of the postures that I see that can be wrong. And then again, our third movement is usually address an iso, a core, or it could be even an explosive throw.
So, Coach, when you're talking about these trisets, like on Monday, for example, if you did your power clean, your dumbbell bench, and then I forgot what you said, the third one is you'll do 2 to 3 sets of that and then move to a second tricep with maybe front squat and upper body. I know you said you're kind of a whole body training every day type of thing, which I think most of the strength coaches we've talked to have kind of gotten in, definitely in season. That's been something I've heard a lot of. But just so I'm understanding it, you'll do your tricep with the power clean 2 to 3 sets, and then go to front squat, or how's that work?
3 sets usually. Yeah, we'll do 3 sets. We'll do 3 sets. So it's on a timer. Everything I do is on a timer too. We can't just give kids free reign; they'll never get through their workouts. I
No,
mean, the amount of work we do. So if we're doing, yeah, if we're doing 2 trisets, so we're doing 6 exercises. Uh, I can go as pretty much gets me right to there at 22 minutes. This is actual work time, not cool, not like put away stuff. This is 22 minutes. That's that's we're flying, we're working. I can get it down to 17 and a half, and that's 25 seconds on, 15 seconds off, but we are flying. You have no room. You got to join up with guys that are around your same strength level, and we've got to move. Now, when I first started this at ACP, they were not used to this, and you should have seen the guy at the puddles that were all over the floor. I mean, that's just how it was. And kids, that my AD wanted to see what we were doing in there. She was excited about the hire that she had made as we were in there, and they were like begging her. They're like, just tell them to take it a little easy. And then now they'd look back on that and they'd be like, that's nothing. That's what we do. That's Tuesday. I mean, that's easy. That's the SAID principle. You are going to adapt to what's demanded of you. I mean, and we're not pushing to the point you're going to get hurt, but I mean, we're pushing them to the point of they're getting work capacity in their lifting. That's another thing. When I hit the wrestlers, they just eat it up. The more they sweat, they think they're just all I have to do is give them some biceps to do, and they think they're in heaven. So, but the more pain, the better for the wrestlers. They're crazy. But to see the football guys, get back to football guys, adapt. And Coach Z, another Dobson guy, by the way, so I know you know Coach Zellner
Yeah,
probably.
I coach football.
Yeah, he's the yeah he loves it because they started out, and again they'd have to do less conditioning now after practice because they did it in their work time. That's why I said it's an economical decision. Everything's time. As you get older, as you see these gray hairs grow in this beard, okay, you get back to like, where can we cut time? Like, well, they were freaking killing it in the weight room. Maybe we don't have to run as much after practice. And I'm all for that as a strength coach. They don't need to be killed twice in a day. So we're doing fine. So, and we
You said
to kind of
Monday.
address your off season, we're starting out with our freshmen.
You
Go
kind of
ahead.
said
Sorry.
Monday was that in season. You're lifting Monday, and what other days are you lifting in season for a typical football season?
Yeah. So the only day we have off for yeah. So the only day we have off for varsity is going to be Thursday, and that's literally just because how the schedule lays out. So we go all classes Monday, all classes Tuesday, odd classes on Wednesday. That's today. So 1, 3, 5. I have varsity football sixth. So 2, 4, 6. So really our in season, our two main lifting days are Monday, Tuesday. Those are big main lifting days. Our correction and kind of small exercises, still hitting some stuff on Thursday because I think, again, it's important to have them still doing stuff. We might only do like Bulgarian split squats has been kind of something we've been doing lately that the kids, and we can deload that quite a bit. You can either do it with just body weight or you can do it with small dumbbells. They've really seen, and it's really good to work that unilateral movement. There's a buzzword you'll hear from a lot of strength coaches, right? One leg stuff. Yeah, so bilateral, unilateral. So we'll do a lot of unilateral stuff on Thursday, and then Friday is I do a game day circuit. So that's kind of debatable. A lot of people say it's a waste of time. A lot of people say you should just rest on game day. We keep it. We did a certain game day workout. Again, it's on the clock. It's shorter, faster. Everything's lighter. Everything is explosive. Trap bar jump shrugs. I don't do anything where they have to catch anything in an awkward position. A lot more dumbbell movement. We do some ball slams, some line med ball throws. To work on that kind of. I mean, you could call it activation. Now, we're doing it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They don't play till 5. But I think it's still good to move. It's not good to. I mean, what are they doing all day? They're sitting in their classroom. Let's get out and move a little bit. We're not going to do anything that's going to tax the nervous system that much. We're down to like I think just doing. We do a quad set on that, 2 quad sets, so all 4 guys are moving. But again, it's nothing that's going to destroy them. We do light goblet squats, and then we don't load the back. The trap bar jump shrug is 3 reps, and I tell them it's 45 or less pounds, which is it's nothing, but they feel light, they feel fresh, and hopefully ready to attack their game. And it's been good so far. And like I said, we had started out with three rounds. Now we lowered it down to two because I'm a big peak guy because I'm a track guy. So, we're trying to peak at the right time. We'll probably lower it down to one now for the playoffs, and then and let them get after it. But that
So,
kind of that takes you in season Monday through Friday for.
okay. How do you? And this is obviously you said you had your preseason, your in season, and your off season stuff. Take me through a little bit of your off season plan, specifically for a football program, and then possibly how you do your summer stuff.
Yeah. So off season is going to be kind of the same, but we have a block day. So let's say Thursday, that's when we have 6 hour. That's our varsity block day. So we're going to rotate a speed, a change direction, or COD, again, another strength conditioning buzzword, and a agility. So pro agility, that kind of stuff. So I think it's important to get out of the weight room. Today we had freshmen because they're done, and we were teaching literally just how to start a sprint. that was pretty much enough for them. We sprinted a little bit today, but we're teaching them a little bit how to come out of a stance, sprint mechanics. I'm an old sprint coach from 20 years now, so it's good to be, and it's nice to be able to get out of the weight room every now and then. I have a couple of teachers and coaches that ran the weight room for the volleyball and softball kids that were lifting, and golf, and so I got to go out with the freshmen and put them through nothing extremely taxing. It was all full recovery. When you're doing sprint work, you got to sprint. You want to go faster, you got to go fast. So we were sprinting 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s with full recovery. So, however many meters they ran, you got to at least give them that much rest. So if you're doing a 40, you got to give them 40 seconds rest. That's the minimum. Now, can you give them more than that? Absolutely. And you don't want to go too much that they start to get cold again. But and it's all dictated on time. Okay, so we ran, we got to take our cleats off, go back into the weight room. We hit a lift. We were already warmed up. Didn't need to waste 4 minutes for a warm up. We ran through our workout, and literally the buzzer went off at the exact time, 8 minutes to go dress out. So I mean, they were smoked. I mean, it's tough, but I told them it's off season. It's my time. Coach Z got you when it was in season. Now it's my turn. So I think they'll respond to it, and I've really been impressed with how the freshmen have responded to it. And we'll do that with the Jays. We have a lot of Jays that are going to be brought up to varsity, so we might wait a couple weeks, and hopefully we're waiting, till the state championship game. But and that's fine with me. But we'll get them into sprinting and change direction, all those things, because it's important. You can be great. We're not power lifters. They're not there to just lift max weights and then be moved move like robots out on the football field. They need to be able to change direction. They need to work on hip mobility. It's all stuff that we do when we have extra time. And the lifting will be the same. We'll of course ramp up the volume, and we'll drop the load down and try to work on some tendon strength and hypertrophy, another buzzword, muscle building.
Let me ask you, Coach, what are some things, how does your program, is there periods where you're trying to add bulk, I know you're going to be probably working speed all the time. You're trying to get faster all the time, I would imagine. But in terms of your weight room stuff, how do you break that up? Is there a period where you're trying to add some size to a guy? Or how do you get about going with specificity with a kid? If this kid's trying to do this and that kid's trying to do that, obviously they're all trying to be the best football player they can be, but how do you kind of differentiate how you're working with them?
Yeah, and that's going to be tough when you have huge groups like we can have in there. So you can give choice. There can be a good time in the off season to give choice for that fourth movement. If you have time for a fourth movement, you go, okay, if you want to work some biceps or triceps, or you want to work some direct hamstring work, or if I see something you need to work on, we can talk to you about that. Like, hey, your lockout in your bench is rough right now, so you need to work your triceps a little bit more. And I give them 2 or 3 different exercises they can do to give them a little bit of choice in it. I know that's the big new buzz thing is let them kind of manage the classroom themselves too, right? So it's the same kind of thing. We can teach them how to do some isolation movements. But for the most part, I mean, there's nothing that's going to add more muscle to you than squat, bench, and you know, I know the deadlift is kind of a big hot topic whether or not kids should be deadlifting. I'm a deadlifter guy, but I'm also a power lifter. So Coach Z is not big on the deadlift, so we use the trap bar. But I also work days that I think we should do power or do deadlift. I go, well, we'll do heavy clean pulls. So we're working on our explosive technique off the ground, but we're also working on that ground base movement to get the bar off the ground. Sneaky way of adding in. Don't tell him, but it's a sneaky way of adding in deadlifts when you're not really
I
deadlifting.
know trap bar deadlift is all the buzz too. Everybody in football programs I've talked to seem to love that. A lot of people have talked about there being a correlation to, the I could be butchering this, coach, but the contrast method, I believe, where you're doing maybe some heavy trap bar deadlifts followed by some jumps or 3-4 jumps or whatever, those type of things. But I know that trap bar deadlift is the coaches I've talked to seem to really like that. You've talked about working with your sport coaches, and I think that's something that is really, really important in terms of having that communication, having that relationship. And you talked a little bit about how you had an in-season program going and out-of-season program going, both in the same class, and I think that's something that's really, really valuable to have. ACP should be very excited that they have that going on. But next question is obviously specifically football related here. Give me some injury prevention hacks. I mean, we have, I think, done a good job of limiting some of those. We had multiple years where we had very few injuries, and then we got bit pretty bad this year. Specifically, obviously, we're talking football stuff. Ankles, shoulders. I know there's some knee injuries that just are going to happen, but what are things you can do in preventative on those three things? I would say ankles, shoulders, and knees. So give me some stuff you think can help you in that regard preventatively.
Well, again, getting stronger is going to help all those things. But I mean, you can do direct, ankle work. You can do right now. I'm working a lot because my baseball guys are off season, so we're doing a lot of tib raises after work. We'll go through after our workouts. We go into the hallway. We sit up against the wall. I'm just going to go from the ankle up because that's kind of how you put it. But we get some tib raises. That should also help with shin splints. Can help with knee issues. Okay, that's a debatable thing. A little calf and Achilles work while we're there. About 5 minutes of that, and everybody does that. Wrestlers, football players will eventually do that. And we've started working into the freshmen already. All that kind of stuff can hopefully help the ankle work. Again, work with your athletic trainers. If that's not something that you're really comfortable, I'm not an expert on that. That's why I have two great athletic trainers at ACP, and they give me ideas, all the time. But again, get into the unilateral stuff. I mean, Bulgarian split squats. That's you're working a little bit of anti-movement with that. Load it. Put some weights in their hands. All the kids want to do is do it without any weights. Put it in a goblet position right here with a dumbbell or kettlebell, or even hold it with a. I mean, if you got some lower level kids that can't do it, you get them. I have 10-pound kettlebells. Hold a little 10-pound kettlebell and make them balance with it. But that unilateral stuff is big. What I'm starting to do with wrestlers now, because we're getting close in season. I know we're talking about football, but just bear with me. We're starting to do that Bulgarian with a hop. Okay, so they're generating power off the ground, but they're also landing, and they can land on one leg. Because how much actual work do we do in sports where we're on 2 feet? Not much, right? So get them used to working on one leg. We do something called reaches, and I'm not going to be able to explain it in my gym here, but you're going to drive your knee to that A position, reach down, try to touch something that's about 2 feet off the ground, and you're balancing the whole time. You want to throw in something really weird into it? Go get a husky mat from Home Depot and make them balance while they're doing it. All those little muscles now are turning on or firing there. Is it going to totally take out any kind of ankle issues? No, but I mean, if you're working it, it can't hurt. You're talking about shoulder, there's a big push now to get guys back into doing overhead presses. Overhead presses were demonized for years. Now they're getting back into it. We do push presses. So we do we're loading the knees down, we're exploding up, and we're finishing over our ears overhead. Okay, so again, don't be afraid to work those shoulders. But I also do, especially on our upper body emphasis days, we'll do raised triplexes where we raise in front with just a 5 pound plate. We have these little tiny 5 pound plates here to the side and back with our palm up. And that's a lot. People don't work that area very much back there. Okay? And they have to do that's 1 rep. And so they're doing it, or they'll go the whole 30 seconds while everybody else is working. Or we'll have Cuban presses where they press up here, rotate down. Okay, so you can add that into your work. And some people say, "Oh, that's fluff work." No, that's still work. My baseball guys are raving about it right now because they just think, well, our shoulders are so important, we're not going to work them. It's just like your lower back's a muscle too. Let's work your lower back. I mean, we'll do Superman holds where we have kids are getting their chest and thighs off the ground. We're literally just holding it for 30 seconds. And when we first started doing it, guys are cramping, hamstrings are cramping. They're yelling out because they're probably dehydrated. But I mean, we're taking them through stuff that they don't usually do. Fire hydrants, hold like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. Hold that knee up in an ISO position and hold it. We started using GHRs, which is literally 1 foot up in the air and 1 foot up on a bench or a box. We're holding our hip up, and now we're starting to do holds. We did reps, and now we're doing holds for 30 seconds per leg. Turning that hamstring on as hard as we can. And hopefully we're getting rid of hamstring issues, but we're also getting rid of some hip, some lower back, and maybe even some knee issues. I'm always going to say maybe because you do these things and you say, "Oh, Coach Stone didn't prevent my hamstring pull." Well, I don't also tell you how to run. If guys are running incorrectly, they're probably going to pop a hamstring too. So that's all, and that's just a few of the things that we do to kind of, bands are great. Band pull aparts. Here, retract your scapula back. I have banded good mornings. They put it around their neck and they stand on it. One thing we're going to do in my program, we're going to work the backside. Your back, your butt, your hamstrings, your calves, your Achilles are all going to get worked in my program, and hopefully that helps. Again, is it going to eliminate all method injury? No, it's just not. But can it help? Yes. And we're also going to do, my wrestlers and my football players do necks every day. And it's just manual neck therapy. They're just down here, and they're doing 20 reps, slow and controlled. Here, side, side. We'll probably do in the summer, we'll do some partner work, neck work. Make them bring in a towel and do some neck work. But you want to try to prevent concussions, get their neck strong.
I think that one is such a simple one, but it's so easy. And they can do, not easy in terms of the execution, but in terms of getting it done. I mean, you can get that done anywhere. And that's a big one. Love hearing all that stuff, Coach. I am super appreciative of you taking the time to talk to us today about some strength conditioning stuff. I know I learned a ton. I think really important for coaches because not everybody has the luxury of having someone like you that has expertise in this area. So we always try to get information out to coaches because so many coaches out there are running their own strength program, and some of them are running it blindly. I just saw a recent stat that said it was kind of tying it in. It said the sport with the most ACLs was girls soccer, and it also said that was the most likely high school sport to not have any strength conditioning whatsoever involved in their program, which I thought was interesting. There's so many coaches out there. The big districts and other districts have the ability and the luxury to have that, but there's a lot of coaches out there, and they don't want to do their athletes any harm, but they don't have the expertise that you have. So we're very appreciative of you taking the time to talk to us. Last final question, if there was one kind of piece of advice you could give an athletic coach or a football coach specifically, but any coach that's having to run their own strength conditioning program, what would it be?
Go talk to people. Go ask people. Don't be. It's not a sign of weakness. I was a defensive coordinator, and I was a 3-3 guy, but we had some great D linemen. So I wanted to get an extra D lineman on the field, and we had done a 4-2-5 the last year that Rusty Pagano was a D coordinator. So I went to him. I said, "Let's review this." I'd been out of coaching football for a couple of years, And he sat down and talked to me. It wasn't a sign. It didn't mean I didn't know what I was talking about. It meant that I was going to let, there's so much information out there. What you're doing here on this channel, the YouTube, YouTube stuff, Twitter, I've stolen stuff off Twitter all the time. You talked about my in-season lifting. I have the little red, yellow, green stoplights that everybody has, right? And I stole that from a coach, and I wish I could remember his name because he probably gets it stolen all the time. We took it at Mountain View. I took it at ACP. I make my girl volleyball players that are also flag girls. I said, you can still lift. You're just in the red today. So you cut your reps in half and you skip your last set. We're going to cut down your volume, but you're still going to lift. You got to lift. You can't just sit in that chair and think you're going to get better because your competition's not. So that advice, don't be afraid. These kids can lift. Okay? Do it smartly. Watch your volume and ask questions. Okay? Like Andy Litton over at Mountain View, he runs the football weight program because that's the kind of coach he is. He wouldn't want to give it to anybody else. I helped him, but he ran it, and that's great. I mean, there's coaches, and I'm sure you know coaches like that. I mean, that's their thing, or I don't want to say micromanagers, but they feel like they should have to do that. Great, but lean on your assistants, teach them how you want them to do it. And so there was many times he had to meet with recruiters, and then I had to run his program for him. But I knew how to do it because he taught me to. Okay, and there's stuff I stole from those reaches. I stole that from him. Those triplexes I stole from Rusty Pagano. The Cuban press I was doing when I was doing powerlifting. So I mean, you take from what you know and you make it your own. Yeah, I got some plates right here. I can actually do it. So this is my garage, by the way. So, anyways. So key to it is keep it light, right? 2.5 pound plates, 5 pound plates. Okay, so we're at your side, turn your palms backwards. We're gonna raise our elbows up to 90 degrees. We're gonna rotate here, and we're gonna press above our head. Okay, could be a great activation exercise. You got an upper body lift coming up that you wanna do some warm-ups. That could be a warm-up. It could be, like I said, it's an injury prevention. You can go more weight than 5 pounds, but everybody's kind of worried about it. But again, if you're going through reps, you don't have to do it. Then of course this is my triplex that I stole from coach, and then I'm reaching backwards and pausing kind of at that. So we're working that backside a little bit there. So again, great job to keep the blood flow into that rotator cuff that doesn't get a lot of blood flow. So you're always trying to put that through some planes of motion that maybe it doesn't always do. And again, it's just, you're going to need some movements for that third one that might be low impact. So there's a really good word for it. Of course, it slipped my mind, but it's a high reward movement that doesn't cost a lot of CNS fatigue. It doesn't cost a lot of soreness. Okay, band pull aparts, that kind of stuff. Go get some bands, man. They're cheap. You can get them on Amazon now. Okay, what I stole from Andy too was we do a lot of more monster walks. PTs do them all the time, but it's great stuff for strengthening hip, bringing that hip up to speed when it might be a little bit sore on your developing kids. We do a short band around the elbows. We walk here. So, what's that?
What's a monster walk again? I think you just said it, but what a monster walk?
So, again, I was told I wouldn't have to demonstrate. So, you got a short band like this. Okay. No, I'm just messing. There's two kinds. You can do monster plank and you can do monster walk. Okay, you got an upper body and lower body. So the monster plank is you're on the ground now, okay, and you got this band around your elbows, okay, and you're walking with your hands, so like in a push-up position, okay. And if you want to smoke this back here, again, a really good to help out your bench or even to help out baseball or your quarterbacks, okay, get that strong kind of stabilization arm. That's your monster plank. Monster walk, you take the same band, put it right above your knees, or even some guys like it kind of lower calf, and you're walking like a monster. So you're walking with big steps left, big steps right, big steps forward, swinging your hips open, backwards, swinging your hips open. Okay, with that band around your knee, around lower body. A lot of PTs do it as a way coming back from lower leg injuries, stuff like that. again, why not get out in front of it? Why not do it beforehand? Okay, again, if you're looking for a low cost, these don't cost much. I've been actually doing this with some kind of telling soccer coaches, let's do this before practice, right? Let's do this. You can do it when you warm up for football practice. Bring out a bunch of 50 of these little bands. It cost you about, it depends on where you get it from. Get them on Amazon. They're cheap, okay? And you can warm up your legs doing that. You can get your quarterbacks warmed up. You can do wall walks. Put your arms on the wall, and you're walking them up, and you're walking them down. Okay? Again, anytime you can activate, just separate them, clamshells, even with your here, those band pull aparts, they're just longer ones you're pulling here. Again, try to keep those quarterback shoulders healthy. Okay, you can do elbow extensions with them too. Again, anytime we can isolate that elbow and we keep it out and make them tremble a little bit in it, all those little tiny connective tissues are now turned on. Okay? And we're increasing blood flow and helping with that warm up. Don't waste the kids' time, but give them some tools.
Coach, I learned an absolute ton. We could steal more of your time, but I don't want to do that. But I really appreciate you taking the time to coach us up on this. I've talked to a lot of strength coaches. I think this was a great, really valuable stuff for us. So I appreciate your time, Coach. I wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully ACP makes a long playoff run. This won't get released till probably towards December, or end of November, December. So appreciate your time, and we will see all of you next time on another edition of the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show. Thanks a lot.